Right. Greetings. Welcome back to Black Bear News, where everything is connected. And we are live on Rockfin. Snake 1974. How you doing? Greetings. Um, got some people watching on Rockfin. We need more people on the Rockfin. Um, where is ad free? Oh, maybe I should put the mic down in my face. Ad free on Rockfin. Kevin Shanholzer. What's going on? Kevin Shanholzer says what? Uh, welcome back. Welcome back to Sound. Um, Gene, Nazmanabs, Mark, Sarjay, Loey Appets, OWASF, um, Max, exactly. Anybody who thinks he knows it all is talking out of their right. I know everything. I know it all. I'm totally right all the time. The worst. Anyways, thanks for coming in early and hanging out with me, guys. I appreciate it. I know it was I didn't really give you guys a heads up on the time, but we'll get into it. And so I kind of had something different to talk about today. And then, right, this always happens right before the show. Something comes up in my viewfinder, and I'm like, oh. So there are already lots of different takes on this article, which just kind of popped out. Kind of popped up on the Twitter feed, an hour ago. There's, the culture war takes are going on already, which is, and that's fine. I mean, sometimes those takes are correct, and sometimes they're not correct, or sometimes they're helpful, and sometimes they're not helpful. I don't know. There's about 15 ways to look at every single possible story, and sometimes it's a little bit you can look at something in so many different ways that everything is rendered meaningless, and then you're just left in a big pool of I don't know, and then you move on. Anyways, this from Bloomberg Opinion. Okay. Elon Musk needs to come clean on Tesla's emissions. Why? Why must he come clean, you say? At a time when most major companies are working on plans to cut their carbon emissions, Teslas are about to go up. We're just going to look at the feed for a second before we even look at the article. Not only are Tesla's total emissions set to grow, an inevitable consequence of growth. Okay, so this is the thing that I really wanted to concentrate on. An inevitable consequence of growth in our carbonized world. Wow, very insightful Bloomberg Opinion. So this is not, a lot of people came in after this thread like, nice try, oil companies. Nice try. Again, the culture war kind of thing, and also the, everything is a conspiracy, or everything is bad actors trying to do stuff. Gets a little overwhelming, and also a little bit, makes it difficult to even have a nuanced conversation around what's going on. But this is real, an inevitable consequence of growth in our carbonized world. So they summed a whole lot of truth up in a few words. like less than 10 words. Um, Tesla's total emissions are set to grow, but the amount of pollution each of its cars generates will too, thanks to an explosive expansion in China and a planned car plant in India. Oh, car makers' emissions include the pollution their vehicles emit while they're being driven. Thanks to all the gasoline and diesel that gets burned over the lifetime of the cars they sell, Volkswagen is responsible for more emissions than oil producer total. Did you know that? Did you? Did you know? So, total emissions of different companies. Gazprom, obviously, Cummins, ExxonMobil. Did you know that Gazprom was higher than Cummins and ExxonMobil and Shell? I didn't know that until today, but very high. Gazprom. Toshiba. Interesting. Electronics, right? Well, they do a lot of things. Toshiba. A lot of things, but more known for electronics. Vale Mining, BHP, mining, Rio Tinto, mining. Mining, guys, mining. Okay. Where do you get all the minerals and the things that are used to put into phones and computers and technology and batteries, electric car batteries? Mining. Mining. Then under all of that, you get Volkswagen, Petrobras, Total Oil Company, Chevron, Toyota makes it into almost the top 10. Top 15 anyways. BP and Glencore, another mining industry. Mining. So if you got rid of all these, Cummins is transport equipment. Second to only Gazprom. Transport equipment. What does Cummins make? I don't really know. Do they make like tractors and heavy machinery? Transport equipment. Anyways, interesting graph. I know I spent a lot of time on that graph. Electric vehicles like those sold by Tesla are at a substantial advantage. They're so much more efficient in converting produced energy into vehicle power that even in coal-heavy grids like China's, they're more efficient than the gasoline equivalent. Okay, so they're pointing out this is good. The upside to electric vehicles, but not all electric cars are equal. Petrol car emits 284 grams of CO2 per kilometer. EV with a battery produced and charged in an average EU nation, 88 grams. So, way better. EV charged in country with low carbon grid like Sweden, 50 grams. Way better. A car with a battery made in China and charged in Poland, where coal makes up about 2/3 of the electricity mix, like in China and India, emits 193 grams of CO2, so a little less than a regular gasoline-powered car, but still less. An essential element of electric vehicles is that they're able to switch to lower carbon fuels over the course of their lifetimes, as heavily emitting power plants are disconnected from the grid and replaced with renewables. That decarbonizing process is likely to be quite rapid in developed countries. However, in the two countries where Tesla hopes to catch the next leg of growth, China and India, it's going to be unusually slow. By the way, in China and India, they are building more coal-fired power plants, not They're not getting rid of them. They're building more and using more coal. I mean, they're saying in this graph that it's going to go down. I don't know why. I don't know where this graph is from because they're building and planning to use more coal in both China and India. This graph should be going the other way, but whatever. So the more cars Tesla sells in China and India, the higher the intensity of its emissions. Emissions per vehicle sold will be. Maybe it doesn't matter. An electric car sold anywhere in the world is likely substituting for a combustion engine. So again, they're saying it's better. However, this is the sort of information that climate-focused investors who've driven Tesla's stock price so high ought to be given, so they can make their own decisions about how their shareholders reflect their own emissions reduction commitments. And maybe also to just people in general who, you know, might or might not understand the impact of electric cars on the environment, especially when those impacts are offshored or accounted for in other places other than the car itself. Unfortunately, Tesla doesn't disclose, and this is very important. Tesla doesn't disclose Scope 1 emissions from on-site power consumption, Scope 2 from purchased electricity, Scope 3 emissions from the cars it sells. So they don't disclose any of this. It's just supposed to be better. That's it. And they don't disclose electricity consumption either. We're just supposed to its behavior indicates that this isn't a priority. 4 years after production started at its Gigafactory battery plant in Nevada, the solar panels that were to cover its roof and help make it independent of the gas-fired grid are still being added. Still working on it 4 years later. Still working on it. Companies accelerating the transition to clean energy while providing poor information on their carbon footprint are better than nothing. Are they? Are they better than nothing? Wouldn't nothing be better? Because this is the funny thing, though. It's something I really want to say real quick. There's like a third standpoint in this whole debate around, around like clean energy versus fossil fuel energy, right? We're only given the binary choice of like, well, we've got to do renewables because fossil fuel is bad, and if you're against renewables, well, then you're in the employ, or you're a useful idiot, or you're supporting the fossil fuel industry. That's not true, because there's the third standpoint, which is degrowth, which is nothing. Nothing is better than something, right? In reality, in the true nature of living in harmony with the planet, nothing would be better than something. So they say it's better than nothing. No, it's not better than nothing, because nothing is better than something, because you got to keep building something. If you got to keep building something and keep pumping out what goes into making a Tesla car beyond the lithium and the battery? There's plastic. There's, the tires are made out of fossil fuels. There's lots and lots of tires. 4 tires on each car. Every Tesla uses fossil fuels for the tires. Not to mention the fossil fuels generated in actually making the car, in, shipping all the materials to the plant to make the car, and then shipping all the cars somewhere else. Last I checked, all those trucks that are shipping all those beautiful Teslas still run on gas and diesel, right? And then what are those trucks made of? And what are their tires made of? 18 of them. Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It goes on and on and on. It's a very complex system. And the entire system that it takes to make this car and ship this car and build this car and get all the stuff, mining, building. Extraction, all of these cars, everything involved, all the extraction involved in making these cars is immense. But they don't talk, they don't talk about it in that way. They only talk about it in like, well, we have to build cars, right? Because that's just an assumed. This is how it works. This is how society works. This is how human beings live. We just make things. We got to build things. No, nothing is better than something. So companies accelerating their transition to clean energy are not better than nothing. They're actually worse than nothing. Nothing is better than these shits. Or the idea that we got to make them, we got to build them, billions of people need these cars. Which is just an assumption, a false assumption. False. Right? And so, a bunch of people came up under this thread. Oh, yeah, nice try, fossil fuel industries. This is trash. Is it trash? I don't know. Is your knee-jerk assumption that renewables are great and this is the way that society needs to go? Is that trash? Is your assumption trash? Maybe you should question your assumption. Is your assumption that this is how human beings, have always lived and will continue to always live? Is that also trash? Just a question. I'm just going to look at this. I mean, we kind of covered that. That thread was pretty in depth, but we'll just look at this a little bit. New operations in China and India will expand the EV pioneer's carbon footprint. The company should be upfront about it for the sake of customers who care about climate change. And that's that is a very logical, uncontroversial in my mind thing to say. They should be upfront about it for the sake of customers who care about climate change. I care about climate change. Again, just assuming like we're going to build, millions of these cars and sell them all over the world. And then we will fight climate change. Are we actually fighting climate change with the build out of all these cars? At a time when most major companies are working on plans to cut their carbon emissions, one of the darlings of green investing is working to increase its emissions footprint. You read that right. Thanks to its explosive expansion in China and a planned car plant in India, Tesla Inc. is in the process of not just increasing the total sum of its emissions, a pretty inevitable consequence of growth in our current carbonized world. That is just a statement of fact. Statement of fact. But increasing the amount, so growth, what's the key word in there? Growth. Especially in our carbonized world. So maybe growth isn't the thing that we need to be doing. Maybe green new billionaires are not the way we should be going. That's because car makers' emissions aren't just a product of energy consumed in their factories. They're a result of the pollution their products pump out while they're being driven around. Thanks to all gasoline and diesel that gets burned over a lifetime of the cars they sell, Volkswagen AG is responsible for more greenhouse gases than oil producer Total SE. Toyota Motor Corporation's footprint exceeds that of BP. Cummins Inc., which makes engines for commercial vehicles, has a higher total than ExxonMobil Corporation. Again, this is the transportation industry is pumping out a whole lot of emissions. Electric vehicles like those sold by Tesla are at a substantial advantage on that front, as my colleagues Liam Denning and Elaine have written. They're so much more efficient in converting produced energy into vehicle power that even in coal-heavy grids like China's, they're more efficient than the gasoline equivalent. The differences from one country to another, however, are substantial. We already looked at this, looked at this. Anyways, well, they summed up this article in that in the thread. They summed it up. But I'm going to take issue with the whole "it's better than nothing" statement. Nothing, nothing is better than something. If you're talking about climate change, nothing is better than something at this point in time. Dan Bronner, yes, cars, regardless of how they're powered, take a lot of energy to build and to run. Jay Thadcast, the laws of thermodynamics says that heat adds up. And also says, don't buy economic green passing as physics. Kevin Shanholzer says, I'm shocked that Tesla's emissions are going up. I wagered a gajillion dollars on them going down. Yeah. Yeah. Again, and so, you have this kind of, you know, not very enlightened, culture war or argument on Twitter around this article. This is dumb. Fossil fuel industries are behind this. Yeah. We need green energy and we need it now. Yeah. Just have bought people who have bought the new the fourth industrial revolution, or whatever you want to call it, the ad line, which is, this green energy is going to be great. It's going to transform the world and we're going to all live better lives. And I mean, yeah, sure, there'll be less pollution on some levels, but less pollution that you can see. But again, how long is it going to take us to get to 100%? And what's the energy usage to get to 100% of everybody using those things? And why aren't we having a conversation, instead of having a conversation around, this is the way it must go. We must go down this road. Why aren't we having a conversation about the nothing is better than something at this point? The conversation around hashtag degrowth, the conversation around hashtag no cars, no more cars, or hashtag no more airplanes, or hashtag, et cetera, et cetera. Gene says the Planet of the Humans film's premise was correct. It is correct. Oh, yeah. Realize says we need a society that shares and worships nature. So simple, but so unlikely. Amanda says, I'm a super consumer now. No, say it ain't so. Went from being a minimalist in a tiny house to having a giant house and 3 cars. Is that real? Is that true? Grateful Dan says, I need to run for president. Yeah, I'm not against the idea, but I have a feeling that a lot of other people would be very against it. Is that real, Amanda? Tell me that's not true. Tell me that's not true. We got 8 watching on Rockfin. Guys, we need more people watching on Rockfin. Yes, it's real. Oh, no. I'm sorry to hear that. I mean, are you enjoying having 3 cars in a giant house? Or are you just kind of like, we're over the falls and I'm just going to go with it? Is that where you're at? I don't know. Anyways, You know, I saw that right after I decided I was going to cover this. Reposted from the Wall Street Journal in the Bangkok Post. Ford vows to phase out gas cars in Europe by 2030. The announcement is the latest evidence of the industry's rapid shift away from traditional engines. And a lot of people would be like, yay! Why Europe? I don't know. Are they phasing out cars in the U.S. by 2030 too? But, you know, more evidence that this is the way it's going. And, you know, a lot of people are going to be like, yes, this is awesome. Not understanding, maybe not understanding the less awesomeness about it, but Ford Motor Company said it would invest $1 billion in a German factory as part of a plan to phase out gas-powered cars in Europe by 2030. The latest automaker to embrace a shift to electric vehicles. Ford said Wednesday it will convert its plant in Cologne to produce electrics, including the company's first European-built all-electric passenger car in 2023. By 2030, electric vehicles should account for all its passenger car sales in Europe, along with 2/3 of its commercial vans and trucks, the company said. Most of the car industry's well-known brands have dramatically increased investment into electric vehicles as the broader automotive industry begins in earnest, because, guys, we're going to sell a bunch of cars. That's what we're going to do. Begins in earnest to phase out traditional engines and shift almost entirely to electric vehicles and hybrids over the next decade. Guys, we're going to sell a lot of cars. That's what we're doing. We're going to sell a whole bunch of cars in the future. Instead of telling everybody, like, we've got to get to zero, we've got to get to zero emissions in 10 years or 15 years or whatever the date is that you think it's going to happen. But we've got to do that by making a bunch of things, mining a bunch of things, shipping a bunch of things, extracting a bunch of things, building a couple of things, a bunch of things, selling a bunch of things. We got to keep the system going as is, and that's going to get us to zero emissions. Okay. Oh. Anyways, and if you believe that, I got some magic powder. I got a magic elixir in a big plastic bottle to sell you. Guys, it's magic elixir. Everybody have it. There's some, a tonic, if you will. I've got this magic tonic. Hey, well, step right up to my ramshackle wagon and buy some magic tonic from me. Comes in a big plastic bottle. Well, Amanda, no judgment for me. I'm just wondering how that happened. How did it happen? Or did you feel like you needed it to happen? I don't know. Jim Massa, how's it going? Jim Massa says, even if we went to zero emissions, there is so much thermal emissions that warming will continue. Electric cars are not zero emissions. They are not. You're right. Lots of GHG is released to mine lithium for batteries. That is, yeah. Right on. And yeah, no, that's right on. And it's what a lot of people are not, being told. And the Bloomberg article makes a little bit of an attempt, like they kind of made an attempt to say it, but without really saying it. You're like, well, we should be transparent in the amount of emissions that these electric cars generate for people that are concerned about climate change, right? So they were like, we're trying to tell you, we're trying to let you know, maybe this isn't good for climate change. Good for climate change. But they don't really come out and say it because because later in the article they were like, well, it's this something is better than nothing, when actually what they should be saying is nothing is better than something. Nothing is way better than something at this point. But you got engaged. Oh, is that what happened? That's how it happens. You get engaged and then you start talking about having kids, or I don't know, you because it's hard to be. I understand, Amanda, because it's hard to be in a relationship with somebody who is a normie, or somebody who's just like, I'm living my life like it's golden, and we're going on vacations, and we got jobs, and we're going to get cars, and we're going to get more stuff, and we're going to have more things, and we're going to have babies, and we're going to do the thing with the thing with the thing with the thing with the thing. Right? It's hard, and you love this person, and you want to continue being in a relationship with this person because it's very important for human beings to have love. It's very important for human beings to feel wanted and to, feel that connection with people. I get it. I totally get it. I totally get it. And my personal beliefs, probably make a lot of people uncomfortable, especially in a relationship, because they're like, I can't. What I try to be in relationships with people who are somewhere in the ballpark of understanding the mess that we're in, somewhere close to understanding the mess we're in. I try to be in relationships with people who understand that, but it's really hard. I get it. Doug Delane says, "Yep, my wife wants kids. I'm not on board with that idea." Amanda, no kids, he's fixed. Well, there you go. That's a win. Put that one in the pro column. But yeah, no, I get it. I get it. I have kids. I'm not like, and I'm not planning on having any more kids. The plan is not. I'm not really planning to have more kids. However, if I met somebody and they wanted to have kids, I don't know. I'd probably go for a second. I might think about it. But I'm not planning on it. So, but I get it. I totally get it. Everything in life, everything that we do it's really hard. It's really hard to live your life outside the system. It's really hard to live your life outside the system. And if you are in relationships with other people, love interests, family, children, if you are in relationships with other people, they are all expecting to live normal lives inside the system. So, it's really hard. I get it. Anyways, I get it. I get it. All I can say is, stay strong, Amanda, and try to, I don't know. The other thing is that I'm not willing to throw away my ideals for a relationship. Um, and that's not a judgment, Amanda, at all on any level. That is not a judgment. I'm just saying, I'm willing to understand. I'm willing to be in a relationship with somebody and understand their whatever, their lack of awareness around the subject. But I get it. I totally get it. I don't have much else to say about it. So but I really enjoy, I am a person who feels in more of an alignment with my ideals, and that makes me feel more complete than another human being in my life does. I don't know. On most days. No, there's no judgment, Amanda. No judgment. No judgment. I'm saying I get it though. I mean, I've been in relationships with people where my ideals just went straight out the door. I mean, as soon as the relationship started, I was like, whatever, I'm cool. Like, I get it. I get it. Oh, Amanda. Oh, that's sweet. Rich Diana, how you doing? Thanks so much for your support, Rich Diana. You are Black Bear News top supporter. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Okay, last thing, guys, I want to cover today. I don't think I'm going to do another show today. But I just want to point this out from Christopher Cartwright. Are you ready, guys? Because I'm about to blow your minds. Yes, trust me. World CO2 and methane. This is from yesterday. Absolutely mind-blowing. Let me zoom in. This is methane. Methane. Can you guys see the heavy methane up to, up in the 2,000 parts per billion areas? If you see most of the northern hemisphere and even a good portion of the southern hemisphere is in the green, up in the 1700, above 1700 up to 1800. So remember that, methane is supposed to be, the baseline is like 700 parts per billion. So we're way, it's not even on the chart here. Not even on the chart. So global methane is at, even at the low level, above 1600 parts. So that's over double. Most of the planet, a good portion of the planet is in the 17 to 1800 parts per billion. But look at all these hot spots with about 2,000 parts per billion. But heavy here, India, China. Heavy in China, India, Russia, Eastern Europe. Spots in South America and Africa. A couple spots here in North America. Let's go to here. CO2 at surface level. Again, most of the planet is above 400. Well, the entire planet is above 400. Again, baseline being 280. But some spots, this is interesting, South America and Africa, heavy CO2 levels in the 600, 5 to 600 range. And then also some spots here, spotty here in Eastern Europe, India, China, Russia. But this is interesting. I wonder why this is happening here. Maybe outgassing of carbon from forests, release of carbon from forests. I'm guessing that's what that is. Anyways, that's frightening. That is frightening. From burning. Oh, from burning? Yeah, Judy Truitt, maybe, yeah. Burning forests or release of carbon, I don't know. Yeah. So, another day. Another day. Another trip down not so good news lane. Jim Massa says fracking, big ag, rice paddies, ESAS, permafrost, leaking capped wellheads, all contribute to CH4. The methane bomb has gone off. Yeah, and all indicators point to it already being triggered for sure. And even though people continue to talk about it as if it's in the future, right? Like we got to avoid this methane blowhole. It's already blowing methane. Forests, when cut down, go from being a carbon sink to a carbon source. Yeah. That was my. Yeah, forests are emitters, becoming emitters. Yeah, I think that's. Looks like that's what's going on. Amanda, you said you have a big property to do permaculture. Well, that's good. That's good. Do it. Offset somehow. Somehow. All right, guys. I have run out of time. I'm not going to do another show today, so I'll see you all at the regular time tomorrow. Thank you to my Rockfin viewers hanging out with me. Prime Cat, Kevin Shanholzer, Jay Thadcast, Laura Neufeld. Thanks, guys, for hanging out with me on Rockfin, ROKFIN.com. I think that's about it. Until next time, peace.